Okay, so today we're going to be looking at how to expand a disk in Windows that is a virtual machine running in VMware Workstation Pro. So let's take a look at what we have currently. So we have a C drive and we have an E drive, and the E drive is getting pretty full. I need a little bit more space than 25 gigabytes with the data that I have on here. So we are going to expand this drive. So what we'll do first is we'll need to shut down Windows. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that Windows is shut down, we'll see here that we have our two disks, 200 gigabyte C drive and our 100 gigabyte E drive. So in order to expand it, we'll go into the settings of the virtual machine. We'll select our second disk. We'll select expand, and we can type in our new size that we need. So I'm going to make this a 200 gigabyte disk, and we click on expand. So this might take a minute, let it run. Okay, so once that completes, we get a nice pop-up indicating that we'll have to repartition the disk and expand the file system. So this is primarily where people get stuck. So let's take a look at what we need to do to complete that. So we'll power on our virtual machine and we'll boot into Windows. Okay, and then once we're in Windows here, we can sign in. And we'll take a look at our disks. And we can see here that the drive that we expanded is still only 99 gigabytes or 100 gigabytes. So let's correct this. And there's a couple of ways we can do that. Okay, so the first way that we can get Windows to recognize that this is a larger drive now is to right click on our start menu and go up to disk management. Once disk management's open, we can see here that we have our data E disk and this black section of data here that's appended to it. So this just means that this is unallocated space that's on this disk, and this is a partition of disk 1, and this is also an unallocated unused portion of disk 1 that is not yet assigned a partition. So we could right click on this and say new simple volume and assign it a disk letter like D or F or G, whatever we want, and it would be a 100 gigabyte partition. It would show up as a separate disk. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is append or add this 100 gigabytes to this disk. So we right click and we select extend volume. And essentially we just click next through this. So in this portion here, we're just going to say the maximum amount of space available, which is the unallocated partition space. We want to select that entire amount and assign it to this disk. We select next. It's already pre-filled out to be the full amount. If we wanted to just assign a smaller amount, then we can select that here, and it would just add on, like if you wanted 50 gigabytes, then you can put here 50120, and this would give you 50 additional gigabytes onto the disk. We don't want that. We want the maximum. So it is 1024. And really that's it. That's all we need to do. We can come back here, we can refresh this view, right click and say refresh, and we are at our 199 gigabytes of free space available. Now this would be the easiest way to do this if you have a single machine. What if you have 30 machines? You don't want to have to go through right clicking and expanding and clicking next a bunch of times to accomplish this. So let's take a look at a quick and easy repeatable way to get this done quickly if you have multiple machines. Okay, so here we are at our disk, it is 99 gigabytes. And we want to expand this to the full size that we've expanded the disk to, which would be 200 gigabytes. Now, instead of going through the GUI and right-clicking and going through disk management, if we wanted to have this as a repeatable task, say you have 30 or 100 or 200 virtual machines that you need to accomplish this on, you don't want to have to go into each one and right-click and select next and next and next. You want it to be a easily repeatable task. So we can do that through scripting in Windows. There is a tool in Windows called Diskpart. Let's break this down and see what we can do in Diskpart to accomplish this. So first we can do a list disk. This is going to give us all of the disks that are attached to the system. And we know that it is the second disk that we've done this to. And we can see that the disk is 200 gigabytes and we have 100 gigabytes free. So we're going to do a select. So cell disk 1. And then we can list the partitions that are on that disk. And we have a 99 gigabyte partition. So how would we go about expanding that? We can hit the question mark and we can see our options. And we can see here that there's an option to extend a volume. This is what we want to accomplish. So let's look at the extend option. Okay, so we need to do extend, the size we want to extend, and the disk number that we want to extend. And if we have a volume selected, it will extend the volume. So let's take a look at what volumes we have on this disk. So we see here that we have volume 2 on the E drive. That's the data drive. So let's select that volume. And then let's use our extend command. So we'll do extend. Then we need to address the size. And we're going to go with the 100 gigabytes. This is in megabytes. Then we need to do the disk, which is disk is 1. And it's as simple as that. Now when we list our volume, we can see here that the volume is now 199 gigabytes. Can exit. We will refresh this, and there we have our 199 gigabytes. Now you might think, well, that was a lot of typing to do to accomplish what we could have done through the GUI with the mouse by clicking, which is true, but this is scriptable. So we can create a script using Diskpart. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a text file. And inside that text file is going to be our commands that we're going to use in Diskpart. So we know it's volume 2 that we're selecting, and we know that we want to extend that volume. The size is going to be 100 gigabytes, and then the disk is on disk 1, and that is all we should need for this. Okay, and then the second script that we're going to create is just going to be a .bat file that we will use to call that script with Diskpart. Okay, so Diskpart extend. We'll name this .bat. And the command to call that is going to be Diskpart/s for script. Okay, and we're gonna put these two files together with each other. So we need a way to call them locally with each other. So in a bat file, we are going to use the %cd%, and the file name was extfall.txt. And that should do it for this file. Okay, so we can see here that we have a 99 gigabyte E drive. And if we go ahead and run our script here, you can say yes. That should expand it. Then there is one last way to do it, and that is using PowerShell. So let's revert back to our 100 gigabyte E drive, and we'll take a look at how to do this through PowerShell for easy scriptability. Okay, so here we are once again with our 99 gigabyte E drive. So let's take a look at how to do this with PowerShell. So we'll just go to our start menu. We'll type in PowerShell. We will right click on it, run as administrator, say yes. Okay, so the first thing we want to define is the maximum size that the partition is going to be. Say size equals and it's going to be get partition supported size. So if we tab this out, we get partition, and we type in supported size and the drive letter. And we know the drive letter is going to be the E drive. Okay, and then we close our bracket, we hit enter, and it's going to go out and grab that information. So if we look at size, we get two columns with information as size min and a size max. So when we expand the partition or resize the partition, we will use the size.sizeMax option. Okay, so let's resize our partition. So that will be resize partition and the drive letter. And the drive letter is going to be the E drive. And the size we would like to have is the variable we created, size, with the option size max. Okay, we hit enter, off it goes. You see the little flash here, and it's as easy as that. So we could put this into a one-liner pretty easily instead of creating variables. Okay, we could do that, and instead of the variable size, we could do this here. Dot size max. Okay. This would also work if you want to have just a single line. You don't want to create any variables or anything like that. The advantage to using this in PowerShell is there is a lot more options and flexibility on how to pick up the drive, detect it, and what you want to do with it. Diskpart is a little bit more complicated and a little less obvious in the syntax that you want to accomplish things with. This you can specify the E drive, or you can have some sort of other detection, like getting the disks and their sizes and their available partitions and stuff like that, and then have a PowerShell script go through the logic on how to detect which drive you're going to expand if you have multiple drives and stuff like that. So this is just a very simple, quick, and easy way to do it. If you're doing this to, say, hundreds of machines like I've had to through VMware vCenter and ESXi, this option in PowerShell is really good because there is PowerCLI, which is easily scriptable through PowerShell. And you can send this code directly from a remote machine through vCenter to a whole bunch of machines and be able to execute this on, hundreds of machines. When I did this on a few hundred machines, the script was a little bit more complicated than this on detecting the drive and make sure that we're selecting the correct drive and all that kind of stuff. This is the essential basic part of it. So I hope this helped you out in some way, either with getting confidence in doing something like this through a virtual machine, be it HyperV or VMware or Proxmox or something like that. They all typically have the same scenario where you can expand the drive in the virtual hypervisor, and then you would have to go through this in the operating system. That being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!